maybe?
Butters.
Oh, this is insane.
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
We all set?
Tuck in there by
Thanks.
accident.
Good evening. My name is Jack Dearborn. This is the August 2nd, 2022, 7:30 PM public hearing, zoning board of adjustment. And we have two cases this evening. We have case number 13-2022, Craig A. Francisco LLS applicant for James E. Dow Revocable Trust and Susan J. Dow Revocable Trust. Owner at 236 Colby Road, tax map 412-166, rural agricultural zone variance, article 28.9 for an application to seek a permission for a reconstructed driveway within a 25-foot buffer. And our second case this evening is case number 14-2022. Neil and Barbara McQuaid, owner and applicant, Tom Carr, agent. James A. Spring Revocable Trust, James A. Spring trustee, owner. And Woodfern Road, tax map 107-041-07, residential zone, variance, article 26.6, seeking a variance temporary cut and fill wetland impact across a wetland narrowest point to install a septic force main, I guess. Request approved, and the request, if approved, will relocate the septic leach field from the lakeside to a remote location 100 feet from the resource. Well, that said, before we start, tonight the meeting I will seat the board. They're the only members here. We're actually missing one. So before we start, you require 3 votes to get anything passed. So it's easier to get 3 votes out of 5 statistically than it is for 3 votes out of 4. So if anybody wishes to continue the case because we don't have a full board here this evening, you're welcome to do that. If not, we'll just proceed. We'll take that up when the case comes. Mark, would you introduce yourself?
Mark Moretti, member.
Michael Meyer, member.
Malcolm Wright, member.
And I'm going to have the board members seated for this case and for the second case. Okay, just to briefly explain how we run the meeting. The zoning board is actually a land use court. It's a quasi-judicial court, and as such, we have rules and regulations we must follow and a procedure that we follow. Withstanding that, everybody who speaks will be recognized at the appropriate time, come up, state their name, and where they live within town. So basically what we do is, every case, we take a case to its completion unless there's need for a continuance or whatever. So basically, we do case 1 this evening, which is 13. Once we're finished with that, or discharges somehow, then we go to case 14, which is the second one. What I will do is I will ask for a motion to accept the application. All that does is gives us an initial check to make sure that there's enough information in the package and it's rational. Sometimes mistakes are made or omissions, so if we do not have enough information, we will reject it for this evening, and we will try to remediate that and possibly continue to the next month. So once we get through that, I'll ask for a motion to accept. We get a second discussion. We'll take the vote. 3 votes. We're going to hear the case. At that point, I will ask the applicant, I'm used to doing this because it used to be over there, come up to the podium, state the name, and generally speaking, we'll ask the applicant to give us a brief overview of why they're here. And this allows the board to ask any questions before we start. What we'll do is then we'll ask the applicant to, once we're satisfied, I'll ask the applicant to please read in the case of a variance, which of these both are tonight, the bolded part of the question, so everybody hears the question that's being asked on the application, and then read the answer. Everybody, whether it's here or whether in the audience who doesn't have the package in front of us, or at home watching this on the YouTube, it's beneficial so everybody kind of knows what the reason the person's answering the question. So then we'll go on. If the board has any questions any time, the board can be recognized to speak. Nobody speaks except for the applicant at this point. Once we get through that, the board's satisfied, I will ask the applicant to please sit down. At that point, I will ask approving abutters, and the key issue is approving abutter, who wish to speak for the first time. Come up, state your name, where you live in the town of Ware, and you're open to speak. You know, we don't typically allow the person to ask pointed questions to somebody else. All questions go through the chair, so we keep it in a consistent manner. So once approving abutters gets up and speaks if they wish to, I'll say any more approving abutters, we'll go sequentially through until we exhaust the approving abutters. Then I'll ask for disapproving abutters. The same thing, gets up here, state the name, and once we've exhausted that, then I'll ask for other boards, public at large. So at this point, everybody who's interested in the room has an opportunity to speak once. Then I'll ask the applicant to get up, and I'll say, do you have any wish to rebut? And if he or she wants to rebut something, fine. If not, stay seated. After that, we'll go one time around again for approving abutters, disapproving abutters, public at large, other boards. Everybody gets 2 shots at it, okay? After that, the board's being satisfied, I will close the public hearing. The purpose of closing the public hearing is no more discussion from anybody except for the board. At that point, the board will deliberate the case. We will vote on each one of the 5 points of hardship independently. You would need 3 votes yes on each one of those to pass. It's like one strike, you're out. And so we typically will place conditions on a variance when we take up the first prong, number 1. It could be number 2 or 3, depending on when we get to it, typically. So that will then be what carries with the case. Should you get all 5, at least 3 votes yes, then you get the variance. Okay. So we go through question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, then we deliberate each one separately. Most were done. So you get 3 votes for all 5 of them. You're good to go. You have 30 days to appeal our decision. Anybody with standing, and I use that term, standing, who doesn't like our decision, one way or the other, whether it's a yes or a no, they have a right to request for rehearing. And should we not rehear your request for whatever reason, or if we do rehear your request and find we uphold our original decision, parties have 30 days to file to Superior Court. So that's kind of how we run the business here. I guess that's it. And at this point, we will take up case number 13, 2022. Let me just go through this real quick. Application page up front. Craig, 5 points of hardship, have C reference with signature. See attached list for abutters. This is the variance, 5 points of hardship addressed. List of abutters. More abutters. There is a letter here from James E. Dow giving Bedford Design permission authority to participate, state, municipal, federal governments, whatever, So, authority for Mr. Francisco to speak. At this point, we have a map. And the map, oh, color. The map is tax map 412 lots 166 and 167, variance plan located at 216 and 236 Colby Road, Warren, New Hampshire, prepared for James and Susan Dow. It has a stamp and a signature. Okay. This is an engineer. Was it a soil scientist?
Wetland scientist.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Move to accept application 13/2022.
Thank you.
Second that.
Any discussion? Being none? All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
Aye.
Mark? Malcolm?
Aye.
4-0. Okay, Craig, if you want to come up, and do you have something you want to throw on the wall, or do you want to just come up here?
You can't throw it on the wall.
You want, whatever you want to do.
Whatever I want to do? Jeez,
It's your party.
I thought it was your party, you're the chairman. Shows what I know, doesn't it? That's what I want to do, how's that?
Anybody interested in seeing this that has not seen it?
I did.
You're all set? Because if not, you can.
These two have seen it several times.
Good, just want to make sure.
So, anyway, good evening, I'm Craig Francisco, Bedford Design Consultants. I am doing a two-lot subdivision and a lot line adjustment. Mr. Dow, and I guess red shirt, owns this lot. Mr. Crowley behind him owns this house. I'm not gonna get too much into the subdivision because that's not really why I'm here, but that's why the map is so big.
Yeah.
Mr. Crowley is selling this to Mr. Dow, Mr. Dow is selling this to Mr. Crowley. And then we are subdividing this into one lot here and Mr. Dow's house here. The reason I'm here tonight, to get the driveway to this buildable area, we're gonna do a shared driveway coming down this easement across between two wetlands, and then between two wetlands. So I need a variance, the planning board decided I need a variance to put a driveway through the existing wetland buffer in these two locations.
Do you show how much you're interfering, how many square feet you're interfering on the wetland?
To be blunt, Mr. Chairman, I think I'm interfering 0 square feet. Because
Why?
there's an existing woods road through there that is 16 to 17 feet wide. That's what
Okay.
these two pictures are
Okay.
of the road. So I don't think we have to do anything except maybe put some gravel down on top of the existing road, and that's
Is there
it.
any culverts required?
They're already there. This was, Mr. Dow bought this in '90, and there was a logging operation back here, and that's why this road is there. So the road was existing prior to 1990. The wetland buffer, the wetlands were disturbed before 1990. The buffer was disturbed between 1990. All we're doing is maybe throwing some stone on it to make it, for the structural integrity, I guess would be the best way to say it, for the driveway, for the fire trucks or ambulances.
So it wasn't recognized, basically.
Correct.
So you think the foundation that's there is compliant with your,
Well, it's compliant with the driveway
36.
regulations. It's compliant with the driveway regulations, certainly.
okay. And you're just going to put the all-weather surface on top?
Right.
Okay, understood.
Yep,
Makes sense?
yep.
That's why I showed these two pictures. Mr. Dow's kind of raked the leaves off a little bit so you can see that the gravel surface is there. He measured at 17, I believe 17 feet wide.
17 feet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
driveway regulation requires 16-foot all clear, 12-foot travel surface, so
Yeah, because you need 16 foot.
all clear, right. I got 17 feet between wetlands, so I don't,
How long is the road through the existing wetland, roughly? Go get your,
and you made fun of me bringing
Scale
my
out?
scale.
well, I thought it was a,
I lost it.
slide rule.
Oh, that, I lost it. No, there it is. How long is it between wetlands?
Well, from point when you, wetland to
There,
wetland.
it's about 80 feet.
Okay.
This one's about 20, 25.
So you're
Oh, you mean
thinking,
between the two wetlands, you mean?
how long are you
much
going
is
to,
disturbed?
even though you've already got the road, how long,
Okay, yeah.
how many feet is the road?
This is about 100, this is about 25.
So you're saying 125 feet?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we understand. And it's 17 feet wide?
Yes,
And your culvert is on
both of them.
that lot right there?
It's on
Right.
here and here.
Okay, yep, very good.
I got a big number 1 and a big number 2 showing where the photos were taken.
Okay, thanks.
So the break in the wetland that's drawn on here was essentially created during the logging back in the 90s. It would probably have been continuous if it hadn't have been there, right?
Before the 90s.
Before the 90s.
We don't know when it.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. We're all set, Mr. Francisco. Would you please go through your 5 points of hardship?
The variance will not be contrary to the public interest. This variance is necessary to maintain and possibly upgrade an existing woods road. That is to be used as a driveway to access a 13-acre lot. My clients purchased the property, I wrote down 1997, but it's 1990. 1997 was when it went to the revocable trust. And the woods road was existing at that time. The woods road is passable now. The planning board decided the variance was necessary to maintain and to ensure the driveway is suitable for emergency vehicles. We're proposing a 2-lot subdivision. This woods road may need to be upgraded to meet the town's driveway requirement. Please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed.
If I could just stop you. There's a big difference between a logging road and a access to a,
There can be, yes.
I mean, you can put logging roads in through wetlands.
Yes.
And as long as you don't do major disturbances, the state ranger, forest ranger.
There was a sawmill back here. So it was traveled with more than just
Okay.
log trucks and skidders and things.
Alrighty,
Please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed. The wetland buffer is created to protect the wetlands, but not to prevent access to the buildable area. The ordinance, Article 28.9.1, provides exceptions to allow for the construction of Class 5 roads and maintenance of Class 5 roads. This driveway will not affect any wetlands. The only construction and maintenance will be in the buffer. And the driveway is going to be used to access a buildable area that is well over an acre. Please describe how substantial justice is done. The existing woods road was constructed prior to this ordinance being passed. The road is over 16 feet wide currently, which meets NFPA requirements. The only reason for the variance is to maintain and possibly enhance the structural integrity for the emergency vehicles to meet current town driveway regulations.
okay.
Please describe how the values of the surrounding property will not be diminished. The driveway will be over 100 feet from the nearest property line and over 700 feet from the nearest building. The use of the woods road as a driveway will not diminish the surrounding properties. Little enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. Please describe the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. Explain any details of property structures that are different than the surrounding property, such as slopes, wetland size, etc. Owing to special conditions identified above, please indicate how no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance and specific application of that provision to the property. The general public purpose of the ordinance is to protect the wetland by providing a wooded buffer and not allow ground disturbance. Filling next to a wetland does not harm the wetland as much as excavating. Excavating will disturb the soil profile, and the water from the wetland could dissipate in the surrounding soil, plus diminish the quality of the wetland. We will not cut any trees, remove any stumps to upgrade the existing maintained road. It will just be used as a driveway. Owing to the special conditions identified above, please indicate how the proposed use is a reasonable one. Explain how specific explain how special conditions of the property and the zoning restriction interferes with reasonable use of the property. The proposed use is residential. The purpose of the variance is to allow an existing 16-foot wide woods road to be upgraded to a driveway to allow reasonable access to the buildable area. Please describe the special conditions of the property to distinguish it from the others in the area. The existing wood road bisects the wetlands is the special conditions. We are proposing to upgrade and maintain the road while not disturbing the wetlands. Owing the special conditions identified above, please indicate how the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and the variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. Strict conformity with regulation would prohibit access to the buildable area as well over 1 acre, and more than adequate to construct a house, garage, leach field, well, and any other appurtenances.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Not? Please have a seat. Approving of butters who wish to speak to this application? Being none? Disapproving of butters who wish to speak? Being none. Public at large, other boards? Mr. Francisco, you wish to speak again?
Not unless you have questions, sir.
No, I don't anyways. Very good. Again, just in case somebody snuck in here. Approving of butters, disapproving of butters, public at large, other boards? I see none. Okay, at this point, I'm going to shut down the public meeting, and the board will deliberate on the case. Okay. Other page go. Alrighty. Motion to point one,
Move to accept prong one.
Second that.
thank you. Any discussion? I'd just say that I think it's a reasonable use. I mean, we have our zoning ordinance to protect, encroaching on buffers and passing through wetlands. And I think in order to make that piece of land usable, is sort of necessary. So there's an existing path of some 17 feet used for logging, and there's a culvert in place and basically just dressing the top surface. So I don't see an issue with it.
It's nice it's already there, and there's, that takes a lot off.
Agreed.
Any other comments?
Nothing to add, really. I agree.
I don't really see the need of any conditions. I think it might be important just to make a note that we will grant a relief 17 feet through the wetland width. And you say 125 feet?
Total.
What's that?
Two areas totaling 125, yes.
Okay, and a length of 125. This is the case, somebody surveys us in the future for a sale of a house, they come in and say, we don't know where the wetland is. We don't know what the pass is, so we're trying to document what that is. Okay, any other conditions?
No.
Okay, all those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
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 Thank you. 4-0. Two, please.
Move to accept prong two.
Thank you.
Second that.
Second, discussion?
Spirit of the ordinance, the ordinance is there to protect the wetlands. If you want to call it damage, the damage was done pre-zoning.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is just using what's already there. So it's not hurting the wetlands in any way to take the path through here to make this lot usable.
And I think even if this path wasn't here, this would be the only practical way to access them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
I agree. I think the damage is already done, and this is gonna be more or less an improvement. And it's a reasonable use.
Agreed.
Okay, no further discussion? All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
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 Thank you, 4-0. Three, please.
Move to accept prong three.
I'll second.
Discussion? I forget what 3 was.
Substantial justice
Yes.
being done. Once again, the lot, just looking at the lot, it is kind of isolated from roads. It's great that it has this easement access, but really that's the only way to the lot without cutting through someone else's lot. And as was mentioned, the wetland does completely cross the lot, and it's the only way to get to the buildable site.
Which has already been crossed, so.
Exactly, through this area.
Pertaining to that prong, substantial justice will be done for the applicant and not at the detriment of the town.
Correct.
Correct.
All righty, no other further discussion? All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
Aye.
4-0. 4, please.
To accept prong 4.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Obviously, the surrounding properties aren't gonna take an impact for improving a piece of property.
Also the residential area.
Right.
Residential ag.
Yep.
Which one?
Residential ag.
Residential ag.
Yeah.
And it's allowed in that zone. So it isn't like this is a different use.
Nah, I mean, there could have been anything back there, no one would have known
Any other discussion?
it.
Seeing none. Mark?
Aye.
Jack? Aye.
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 Thank you.
Move to accept prong 5 in its entirety.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And I think I just say, it's a reasonable use. It would be an unnecessary hardship to have this be denied. And owing to the special conditions of the property, be it the wetland access, it requires this variance to make that piece of property usable for the owner, reasonably usable for the owner.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yep, enough said. Yep.
No more discussion? Okay, Mark?
Aye.
Jack? Aye.
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, one more to go.
Okay, this is case number 14-2022. It's Neil and Barbara McQuaid. 5 points of hardship with the package. Signed. Some neat little photos. Four photos, a letter to the zoning board, and it's from, if I get this right, to the zoning board, a letter, and it's dated July 7th, 2022, and it's signed by Diana L. Spring, successor trustee for the James A. Spring, I guess the revocable trust. We have quick claim deed. List of abutters, and we have a map. Okay, motion to accept the application, please.
Move to accept case 142022.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, at this point, discussion, if you would like to ask a question, this is a good time as any.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I am Tom Carr from Meridian Land Services, and I'm here tonight to present this application for the McQuaids. My question arises from how I tailored the application. I tailored it specific to Articles 28, Section 28.6 for the wetlands, assuming that the buffer was included in the application, because we can't put the force main through the wetland without impacting the buffer. So I made an assumption that that was included as part of the application. I did not list, I think it's 28.9. 28.9, which refers to buffers shall be maintained with 50% of vegetation. This is an interesting case because it is a cut and fill, so it'll be cut, the force main will be put in, it'll be backfilled and restored to natural. So it's a temporary impact, nothing permanent at all. And there's already a force main there for the spring septic system. It's gonna follow the exact same path, which is still visible in the woods, but certainly there will have to be some trimming to reestablish that route and then, reestablish a natural condition when we're done. So I guess my first question would be, are we okay proceeding tonight, or do you think we'll have a problem with not specifically listing 28.9?
Well, you listed 28, so from a notice standpoint, I think it's okay.
Okay.
Since you brought it up, if you want to modify your application, to include 9, we'll just take that as a note.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to reference both of those?
So, Mr. Chairman, yes, I'd like to include Article 28.9 as part of this application because we simply can't get a variance for Article 28.6 without addressing and impacting 28.9. So, yes, sir, I'd like to include that as part of the hearing. So if that's okay, I will
If you
proceed.
would have a seat, please, we'll take a quick vote here. Are you guys okay proceeding with that?
I am, it makes perfect sense to me.
I personally, you can't go through a wetland without going through the buffer, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, we'll see. All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye?
Aye.
Mel?
Aye.
4-0, we got it.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Okay, just take us through the map real quick.
Right. So I'm actually gonna back up back in time. Years ago, this was a subdivision plan that was approved by the planning board. There were several lots down here that broke up this lot for the benefit of getting the septic systems that were on these smaller lots close to Horse Lake, away from the lake and up into a more suitable place for the leach fields to be away from the resource and give these smaller lots more room to work.
How many lots utilize that?
There's only one. So the
okay.
spring property was dedicated to this lot. This is the Moore lot, and this is the proper lot. Those belong to, I think, these two lots here.
Okay.
And then there's access easements for construction, but these do not have force mains on it. So the existing spring septic system comes up along here, and this is their leach field. The Springs and McQuaid's are friends. They're saying you guys can put your field up here if you'd like, because they want to redevelop this lot. So we're gonna come across here, follow the exact same path. We've done a test pit and a leach field.
So the
design.
second one.
So it'll be the second one
So
on that.
future, so you're gonna do it all at once?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it'll be all at once.
And so, obviously, when they put that first septic system in, there was disturbance of the wetland?
Yep, they did cross the wetland there. There was a permit for it. And we have the wetlands permit submitted to DES. That permit is identified on that application along with the septic system approval for that specific septic system design. So it was all done legally.
On your diagram there, is the blue the only affected area?
So the blue, the orange represents the wetland line, the wetland delineation, which I did and certified to. The green represents the buffer disturbance on both sides, and the blue is the direct or temporary impact of the wetland. So we have 200 square feet of temporary impact to the wetland and 553 square feet of temporary impact to the buffer. And again, that's along an existing force main trail
Got it.
that was put in years ago.
Okay, any questions of the applicant before we go through
So this
the,
is already being used, that same route is being used?
Exactly the same.
Basically just doubling up.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And before I conclude, I did come to the Conservation Commission to go over this with them, and they were like, fine. In fact, Steve Najar even thought I didn't even need to come here because there's already a disturbed trail, similar to what Craig's application
well,
was.
if you had a variance before, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't agree with Steve. I mean, Steve and I agree most of the time,
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
I thought, you know, there's no way I'm not coming to the zoning board for this, so.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay, would you please read the question bolded?
Yes, sir.
And your answer?
Okay, the variance will not be contrary to public interest. The variance will not be contrary to public interest because this is a temporary impact to the wetland area and wetland buffer. No permanent impacts are proposed, and there will not be any loss of wetland area, functions, or values to the wetland complex. The lake water quality will be better protected, which is a benefit to the resource, abutters, and general public using the lake for recreation.
Next, please.
Number 2, please describe how the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the spirit of the ordinance is observed because this is a temporary impact that will provide better water quality to the lake. The spirit of the ordinance is to avoid wetland and buffer impacts and/or to minimize impacts when necessary. Long-term, this is the best environmental option.
3, please.
3, please describe how substantial justice is done. Substantial justice will be done as this is a benefit to all parties involved as well as the general public. The impacts are temporary and what will not be noticeable to abutters or the general public that may use Woodfern Road when completed. The potential benefit to the lake is substantial. There can be no harm to the general public or direct abutters by a project that proposes temporary impacts to the wetlands with no permanent visual impacts.
4, please.
Please describe how the values of surrounding properties are not diminished. The values to abutting properties will not be affected by this proposal. Following construction and surface restoration, there will be no permanent impacts or visual deficiencies to what currently exists. If anything, surrounding property values will benefit from this, as an on-site leach field on lot 107-50 would be a vented eyesore directly adjacent to Woodfern Road. The proposed leach field will be remote and not visible from any dwellings.
Thank you. 5, please.
5, little enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. This lot was specifically created for the placement of remote leach fields. The intent of the subject lot and other lots on the reference plan was to get leach fields away from the lake and provide more usable space on the lakefront lots the back lot was created for. Special circumstances of this lot is that it is bisected by a forested wetland that must be temporarily impacted for the use of the lot in its intended purpose. This special circumstance requires a variance for a temporary cut and fill of the wetland for placement of the septic force main. To reiterate, this has already been done once for the other existing leach field on the lot. This is a special situation of two property owners working together to benefit the water quality of Horace Lake and provide a better usable area on the McQuaid's property. Denial of the variance request would result in an unnecessary hardship to the owner and applicant, as it would deny the use of the subject lot for what it was originally intended for.
I, please.
Owing to the special conditions identified above, please indicate how no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property. This request for a variance proposes a temporary impact of the wetland and buffer that has an end result of environmental water quality for Horace Lake. The general purpose of the ordinance is to protect environmentally sensitive wetlands. Horace Lake is also wetland and a water body. Although this is not a listed permitted use under section 28.6 of the WEARE zoning ordinance, the end result certainly is consistent with the intent of the ordinance, which is to protect wetlands. Therefore, no fair and substantial relationship exists for strict enforcement of the ordinance that would be cause for denial of the application. Part 2 of that, owing to special conditions identified above, please indicate how the proposed use is a reasonable one. The use is a reasonable one as the subject lot was specifically intended for remotely located leach fields. If the zoning ordinance is strictly enforced on this application, it would deny the owner and applicant use of the property for what it was intended for. The special conditions of the lot bisected by a wetland interferes with the reasonable and intended use of the property. And again, to reiterate, this exact wetland area has already been crossed legally for the same purposes, proposed use for which this application proposes. I've also filled out the other section,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, but I don't know if you want to hear that or, okay. B, the other option, please describe the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. This particular lot was created for the specific purpose of relocating leach fields away from Lake Horace. The special condition of the lot is that it is bisected by a small wetland. Some of the other lots created for this purpose on Hillsborough County Register of Deeds Plan 31526 do not have this special circumstance. Although the wetland must be temporarily impacted, the overall good of relocating the leach field away from the lake is a net gain in environmental benefit. Owing to the special conditions identified above, please indicate how the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. The special conditions of the lot require the wetland to be impacted, as a leach field cannot be placed on the lake side of the wetland, avoiding the proposed temporary impacts. There's not enough room. If the variance is denied, the lot cannot be used for its intended purpose. The reference plan was reviewed, approved, and signed by the WEARE Planning Board to provide for remote leach fields. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Have a seat, please.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm digging, I hope I'm not too hard. It sounds reasonable, sounds all perfect.
you.
But the only thing that pops into my head as a concern is the line, the bury it and forget it line, so to speak. I would worry if there's any historical issues with the line. I would worry if there's any contingency plan as far as taking care of any problems with the line.
Right,
I'm not really that concerned about the leach field,
right.
but
Right.
so what, you have anything to,
What's the specification of the line? Is it
It's
a
100,
schedule?
it's 160 PSI, 2-inch force main. It comes in a coil, it's a 100-foot coil, so they'll have joints every 100 feet. So those are double couplinged joints with, the angled or the directional push pins on them. So it should be fine. I've been doing this for 35 years and I've never seen a force main come apart at a joint and have an issue. So I'm not in the construction business, I'm in the design business, but it's really remote. It's a good
I'm not
question.
qualified to question
a good
the line
question.
itself, but I guess I'm more concerned about any future plan as far as if there is a problem, whether the space station hits it or something, I don't know, something happens to it, you know?
I don't see,
It's not that much of a concern.
properly installed, there should be no issue.
Yeah.
And the McQuaids and I have talked a lot about this. They're really intending to do a nice job up there.
Right.
And, with working with the Springs, as an environmentalist, I'm excited about this. And so, they want it to be nice, they want it to be done right. And I really think, a problem is a remote.
Right, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me do my thing. If you have a seat, please.
Sure.
Approving abutters wish to speak? Being none. Disapproving abutters? Being none. Other boards? Public at large? Being none. Would you wish to speak again?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, approving about us, this, approving about us, public at large, other boards. Seeing none at this point. Any questions from the board? No? I will shut down the public hearing and we will deliberate on the 5 points of hardship. Okay. Prong one,
Move to accept prong one.
I'll second.
thank you. The only condition I put on is, probably goes without saying, but there is a survey here, or a plan, and it's the Neil and Barbara McQuaid, Ware, New Hampshire, July 7, 2022, by Meridian Land Services, and it's signed by Thomas Carr, and it specifically shows 200 square feet temporary wetland impact, delineates where that is and how it'll be recovered, so that's the only condition I put on. I guess, I don't see this being contrary to the public interest. If anything, it's an enhancement. Trying to get away from that lot, the water lot, and moving it back. I think that it benefits the public interest.
So,
And you agree?
Agreed.
so originally this wasn't done this way, financial reasons or more than
Oh,
likely.
I don't know what, mean the lot subdivided?
With the leach field like this, you know, I mean,
Well, I know the lot,
just
I know the spring
curious.
lot, and that's like this. So, a lot of the lots around this, around the lake have subdivided lots on both sides, and a lot of people buy the inland lot to put their septic system.
Yeah.
no, it makes sense, yeah, I just,
More reliable, probably.
Okay, let's try it. All those in favor, Mark?
aye.
Jack, aye?
Aye.
4-0.
Move to accept prong two.
I'll s-
that.
Again, I look at this and say, spirit of the ordinance, we're protecting the wetlands. That's the whole purpose of 28 and all the subsequent subparagraphs. Occasionally, you gotta go across them for use of the property. This case is gonna be reconstructed back. I don't see it being an issue. I support it.
I agree. Yep.
All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Malcolm? 4-0. Okay, 3,
Move to accept tier three.
I'll second.
thank you. Substantial justice done. I think it's not only for the applicant, but I think it's for all the surrounding properties as well.
Well, the whole,
Everyone
every
uses.
uses the lake. yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Not. Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye. Mike?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
4-0. 4,
Move to accept prong four.
I'll second.
again, sort of like 3, the surrounding properties have benefited from this plan.
Yeah.
I think the applicant kind of mentioned it as well, not having a plastic pipe sticking out in view of the road is always a benefit, so getting this away from the road and away from public view.
Oh, and they're gonna check the other line too while they're at it, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Mark?
Aye.
Jack, aye.
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 Thank you. And 5 is in entirety.
Move to accept prong five in its entirety.
Second that.
Again, I think this is the reasonable use, owns the special conditions, and also unnecessary hardship for all the neighborhood if this wasn't approved. So,
I think in part two, it was well described.
and that's owing to the special conditions.
Yeah. Yeah. Nicely done.
So.
Aye.
Any other? Those in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
4-0. Okay, have a good evening.
Thank you very much for your time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Did I miss minutes?
No, I told you I didn't have any.
Huh?
Told you I didn't have any. Remember? Last night you heard about it.
So in other words, you're holding us up too?
I am.
Oh, we still on?
Like that?
Let me
Would you like to
Minutes
make that a
here.
let me
complaint?
launch a complaint.
Okay.
Move to adjourn?
I'll second that.
I just have, before you adjourn, question.
Yeah.
So next, I'm guessing that you're gonna follow suit with what you did in July?
Yeah, we should probably
Because
do.
September 5th is Labor Day, so the 6th you won't meet, you would meet the 13th instead?
Yes,
Boot it out a week.
yeah, I think it makes sense. We
You
should
have one
probably-
application right now,
We
and
should
Monday's.
probably do that, all these,
On
just-
those,
Memorial Day, Labor Day.
on those
Well, that
ones, I
wouldn't
need a
bother.
reminder, unfortunately.
Sorry?
On those ones, if somebody
Yeah,
could
that's
send
where-
me a reminder,
yeah.
you know. I get busy and distracted sometimes.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Is there any reason why we couldn't start at 7? Now that you're retired?
Because
I
it's
know-
hard for me to get here at 7:30 and,
Oh, okay.
no, I'm
Well,
teasing.
No, because I was gonna say, I
Hard to
know,
break all habits.
I know, well, when I know when you were traveling, it was tough.
Well, when I leave Nashua at 6.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, a lot of them are programmed for 7.
Does that benefit you, Mark? I'm happy to
to
do
me.
7:30.
You're okay?
I don't mind.
Yeah, well.
I do know that I've been pretty successful over the years. For 7:30, happy to give it a shot. I don't see a problem with it.
Want to say at 7 or 7:30 or 7?
It doesn't matter, I just thought it would be, some people are routine for 7, because planning board 7, conservation 7, you know,
I keep it at 7:30 then, there's no
Okay.
preference.
yep.
I'm trained.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, all I know is when the news starts, I know I gotta get ready sometime.
Okay, so September 13th, we'll leave it at 7:30. Okay,
Very good.
all right, then Mike, you can finish, sorry.
It's okay, move to adjourn.
I will second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Now, one of you just, when you're done making your vote, you can flip your switch.
Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.